everybody, this is Love, and today's video is going to focus on taming those scraps. Now, as a quilter, I'm constantly generating scraps in my studio, and it's very difficult sometimes to get a hold of it, but the AccuQuilt fabric die cutter really makes this easy. Now, today's technique, I'm going to focus on the studio, but this could apply to the Go model. This bin of scraps is a stack of 1.5 inch wide or 1.5 inch wide strips. I laid these out, and actually if I were able to stack these one on top of the other, this bin of scraps would stack about 15 inches high, so that's a lot. These scraps are all different sizes, they're different lengths, they're different colors, and I cut them in just a few passes with my AccuQuilt Studio. The inspiration that I got for this technique actually came from wanting to attempt the technique that's in this book by Guyleen Fitzgerald, which is the Trash to Treasure Pineapple Quilt Challenge. I had the opportunity to meet Guyleen at the Houston Quilt Festival a few weeks ago, and it was a really amazing experience, and she inspired me to start my own pineapple quilt. This is my very first block of the pineapple quilt using her technique. She also has a ruler that she's designed for this. So even though I have this fabulous AccuQuilt fabric die cutting system, I still do need acrylic rulers from time to time. But this technique would work for any type of scrap quilt that you would want to make, such as log cabin, strip quilts, those types of things. So what I do is I have my strip cutter here, and hopefully this is angled enough for you to be able to see it. But essentially what I'm doing here with the strip cutter is I'm just taking all of my different size scraps and I am laying them out on the die. Now these scraps tend to be scraps that are left over from quilt backs, trimmings, from blocks, those types of things. And mine are all different sizes. And as I lay these out on the strip die, I'm trying to make sure that they're somewhat straight, although when you're doing scrap quilts, it's not as critical for every strip to be 100% perfectly straight, but you do want them to be, you don't want to do something wacky like that. You do want to try to get them straight. But essentially what I'm doing here is I'm creating a variety of layers here and just placing these scraps approximately on the board so that I'm alternating my layers, so that I'm getting good coverage on the board, but I'm also getting efficient use out of these scraps. And what I tend to do when I make these cuts is I use the smaller strips first on the bottom layer, and then gradually I will increase the size of the pieces that will go on top. Now these are selvages, so I like to save my selvages where I can. So I'm just placing these like so, and then getting to the larger pieces. And then for the final layer, I actually would want the final layer to be some of the larger pieces. Whoa, that one ended up being a little bigger than I anticipated. But this is just for demonstration purposes. So I would lay this out very neatly within the spaces of my die. Let me not deal with that one. How about this one? Alright, so I'll make this my last layer. Now, on the AccuQuilt Studio, the Studio can cut up to 10 layers of fabric pretty easily. So on the Studio, I'm likely to just keep stacking these until I get approximately 10 layers on the die. When you're cutting with the Go cuts up to 6 layers, so you want to be really mindful of how many pieces you're placing at one time. But what you would do at this point, once you've got the die covered, is you'll take your mat and put it on top and run it through the die. So I actually have a one ready to go here, so I'm just going to crank this through my Studio. Finish cranking this one through. Alright. So you see here that now I've got all of these pieces cut, and now I've got all of these wonderful 1.5 inch wide pieces. And what I do is sometimes I'll pull out some of those, but all I do is just kind of fold these over and then stick them in the box, just like that, and then really just deal with them as I'm making the scrap quilt. So that's all I did to fill that box, is really just pulling these out and folding them up and sticking them in the box. So you keep going like that and your scraps will be gone very quickly. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're interested in trying the pineapple quilt challenge, you can join Eileen on Facebook on the Trash to Treasure Pineapple Quilt Challenge. Enjoy! Happy quilting!